The electronegativity refers to the ability of an atom to attract shared electrons in a covalent bond. The higher the value of the electronegativity, the more strongly that element attracts that shared electrons. Electronegativity is a property of an atom which increases with its tendency to attract the electrons of a bond. If two bonded atoms have the same electronegativity values as each other, they share electrons equally in a covalent bond. Usually, the electrons in a chemical bond are more attracted to one atom or the more negative one than the other. This results in a polar covalent bond if the electronegativity values are very different. The electrons aren't shared at all. One atom essentially takes the bond's electrons from the other atom, forming an ionic bond. For finding bonds with electronegativity, find the electronegativity difference between the two atoms. When two atoms are bonded together, the difference between their electronegativities can tell you about the qualities of their bond. Subtract the smaller electronegativity from the larger one to find the difference. In determining the molecule's electronegativity, we will use the periodic table, this one. For example, we would like to subtract electronegativity of HF and we will going to find the electronegativity of hydrogen and fluorine. So the electronegativity of fluorine is 4.0 and the electronegativity of hydrogen is 2.1, therefore their difference is 1.9. In chemical bond, we have nonpolar covalent bond, polar covalent bond, and ionic bond. For nonpolar covalent bond, if the difference is below about 0.4, here the electrons are shared almost equally. This bond don't form molecules that have large differences on either end. Nonpolar covalent bonds tend to be very difficult to break. This is because the atoms are sharing electrons, making their bond stable. It requires a lot of energy to break this bond. For example, the molecule O2 has this type of bond. Since the two oxygen have the same electronegativity, the difference between them is 0. Polar covalent bond, if the difference is between 0.5 to 1.6, these bonds have more of the electrons at one end than the other. This makes the molecule a little more negative at the end, with the two electrons and a little more positive at the end without them. The charge imbalance in these bonds can allow the molecule to participate in a certain special reactions, such as joining with another atom or molecule or pulling a molecule apart. This is because it's still reactive. For example, ammonia or NH, nitrogen's electronegativity is 3.0 and the electronegativity of hydrogen is 2.1. Therefore, their difference is 0.9 and it is a polar covalent bond. Ionic bond, if the difference is over 2.0, in these bonds, the electrons are completely at one end of the bond. The more electronegative atom gains a negative charge and the less electronegative atom gains a positive charge. These sorts of bonds allow their atoms to react well with other atoms and even be pulled apart by polar molecules. For example, NaCl, the electronegativity of sodium is 0.9, subtracted by the electronegativity of chlorine, and their difference is 2.1. Therefore, it is ionic bond. The chlorine is so electronegative that it pulls both electrons in the bond all the way towards itself, leaving sodium with a positive charge. NaCl can be broken apart by a polar molecule, such as H2O or water. In water molecule, The hydrogen side of the molecule is positive while the oxygen side is negative. When you mix the salt into the water molecules break down the salt's molecules, dissolving the salt. Okay guys, I hope you understand what electronegativity is and the chemical bonds through this video. This is Electronica Sinudado, BS Ed Science 2. Thank you and God bless. Bye!